bir neçə saniyəmiz var. Bir daha xatırladım ki, ölkəmizdəki diplomatik korpusun nümayəndələri orada iştirak edirlər, hərbi ateşelər orada iştirak edirlər.
Hörmətli səfirlər, hörmətli beynəlxalq təşkilatların rəhbərləri və Azərbaycan Respublikasında akreditə olmuş diplomatik korpusun rəhbərləri və nümayəndələri və hörmətli hərbi ateşelər, hörmətli media nümayəndələri. Hər birinizi bugünkü brifinqimizdə xoş gördük. Bugünkü brifinqimizdə mənimlə birlikdə həmkarlarım Azərbaycan Respublikası 1-ci vitse-prezidentinin köməkçisi Elçin Əmirbəyov və Azərbaycan Hərbi Hava Qüvvələrindən deməli İkram müəllim iştirak edir və o cümlədən də Müdafiə Nazirliyinin mətbuat xidmətinin mətbuat katibi Anar müəllim iştirak edir. Və tərcümədə mən qısaca olaraq məlumat verim, sonra olaraq diplomatik korpusun burada iştirak etdiyini nəzərə alaraq İngilis dilində də fikirlərimizi ifadə edəcəm. Dear ambassadors, ladies and gentlemen, head of the international organizations and also military attachés and media representatives, and to the first Vice President of Azerbaijan, and Mr. Ikram Rzayev, Ikram Aliyev, and representative of the Air Defense Forces of Azerbaijan, and also Mr. Anar Eyvazov. We would like to brief you about an operational situation that happened on the border area between Armenia and Azerbaijan early in the morning. And as everybody knows, and also we are thankful that has been under the attack on the 11th of October with the Scud missile system, particularly as you have seen and witnessed that civilian population in Ganja city, second biggest city of Azerbaijan, was under the attack of Scud missile. That particular area of Ganja city is a densely populated part of the city, but unfortunately in a indiscriminate and also in a deliberate manner, this part of the city became under the military attack of Armenia. Even predecessing that, Armenian armed forces used Smersh missiles against such a big city as Ganja, against a civilian population. We are also witnessing, since the escalation of the situation, Armenians' deliberate attack against a civilian population and also critical energy infrastructure of Azerbaijan, particularly Ganja, Mingechevir, and other cities of Azerbaijan are becoming target. We are also witnessing intensive attack. It became like a regular standard procedure by Armenian forces to attack Tartar, Barda, Aghdam, and villages of Aghdam region and villages of Fizuli region of Azerbaijan and some other cities with a heavy artillery and rocket missile system. But attacking Ganja with a Scud missile is a culmination of the escalation that has been launched by Armenia. For the first time, according to our knowledge, in the history of the OSCE, or in the territory of OSCE, missile having such a destructive capacity like a Scud have been used against civilian population in such densely city like Ganja. We are also monitoring that in the course of the recent armed conflicts, out of conflict zone, application of such a dangerous missile was for the first time maybe recorded in the experience of Ganja. Regardless of our warnings and also calls to Armenian side to refrain from such attacks, we have seen that they're intensifying even further their deliberate attacks to Azerbaijani cities. Today, early in the morning, around 1 a.m., and Azerbaijani armed forces have monitored that border area between occupied Kalbajar region of Azerbaijan and also territory of Armenia. It was just 2-3 kilometers away from the border of Azerbaijan through the occupied Kalbajar region of Azerbaijan. And these missiles have been deployed, and as militaries can suggest, and our military experts will provide exact details, that these missiles were brought to the high readiness status. In other words, they were in start position. Start position means that they were ready for launch. And the target, of course, was on Ganja, Mingechevir, and other cities of Azerbaijan, particularly civilian population, with an intention of ensuring security and safety of Azerbaijani civilians, and also deriving from the international humanitarian law, jus in bello, and also under the conditions of self-defense and providing security and safety of Azerbaijani civilians. The actions were taken to neutralize with legitimate military target. Once again, Azerbaijan has taken this decision in the context of international humanitarian law that is very clearly prescribed, in the context of self-defense, in the context of military necessity, and in the context of proportionality. There was a proportionate, precise attack or action with regard to this particular military missiles that have been ready to be launched against a civilian Azerbaijani population. On the ground, it has been destroyed, and in other words, safety and security of Azerbaijani civilians have been ensured. But unfortunately, it didn't stop over there. We have seen additional Scud missiles that have been deployed on the ground around 08:36 early in the morning, and it's also brought to the high readiness status to attack Azerbaijani cities. Therefore, again, in the context of the self-defense and exercising our right of self-defense under the international humanitarian law, Justin Bello, and we have taken proportionate action and also deriving from the military necessity to neutralize this potential source of risk against Azerbaijani civilian population. Therefore, all responsibility for this action lies on the political military leadership of Armenia. They are doing on different purposes. We do think that it's a political military provocation. First, they would like to cause as much as casualties as possible among Azerbaijani civilians, as we had witnessed in Ganja city of Azerbaijan. And also they are doing it for political purposes, to involve third parties and broaden geographic scope of the conflict, and also to undermine wider regional peace and security. And therefore, Azerbaijan also, by using this chance, directly providing on-the-ground information to the diplomatic corps and a wider international community why these actions have taken on the ground. And it also comes with an understanding that we, on multiple occasions, have informed the international community, have informed all other partners, and also via media, we informed the Armenian side to refrain from such risky actions. Unfortunately, they didn't stop on that, and they continued to pose such existential threat. Without further delay, I would like to give the floor to the representative of the Air Defense Forces of Azerbaijan, Mr. Ikram Aliyev.
Hörmətli mətbuat nümayəndələri, mən Hərbi Hava Qüvvələrinin qərargah rəisi General-Mayor İkram Əliyevəm. Mən sizə qısaca Ermənistanda məxsus olan operativ taktik komplekslərin, taktiki xüsusiyyətlərin və onların imkanlarından qısa məlumat verəcəm.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and significant media representatives. I'm the Deputy Air Force Commander, Chief of Staff, and today I will give you some information related to the air missile tactical technical characteristics.
Operativ taktik raketi kompleksi 9K-72.
Operational tactical missile system 9K-72.
8K-14 raketi ilə birgə cəmlik qüvvənin, idarəetmə məntəqələrin, aerodromları və digər əsas obyektləri məhv etmək üçün təyin olunub.
8K-14, it's designated to destroy enemy personnel, command posts, airports, and the main objectives.
1967-ci ildə silahlanmaya qəbul olunmuşdur.
It was given to the military use in 1967. Next slide, please.
Operativ taktik raketi əsas tərkibinə daxildir. 8K-14 raketi, buraxıcı qurğu 9P-117, topo bəndəmə, bənd etmə 1T-12, tuşlama cihazı 8Ş-18 və raketi yanacaqla okisletlə doldurulması üçün divizyon texniki vasitələri. Əsas texniki xəstələr.
The operational tactical missile system consists of the missile and 8K-14 missile, the launcher, and topographic locator, aiming device, and also technical means to fill the fuel in the missile. The tactical technical characteristics.
Əsas atış məsafəsi 50 kilometrdən 300 kilometrə qədər.
Maximum distance is from 50 to 300
Maksimal
kilometers.
uzaqlığa uçma vaxtı 5 dəqiqə.
Maximum flying time is 5.
Start çəkisi 5862 kiloqram.
Starting weight 5,862.
Doldurulmuş raketin çəkisi
Unloaded rocket weight is 2,076.
doldurulmamış da boş raketin çəkisi 2076 kiloqram. Uzunluğu 11 metr 164 santimetr.
The length of the missile is 11,164.
Korpusun diametri 880 millimetr.
Diameter of the corp is 880.
Stabilizatorlar arasında olan məsafə 1 metr 881 santimetr.
Distance between stabilizators is 1,810.
Ümumi kompleksin çəkisi 37 tondur.
Overall weight of the system is 37.
Döyüş heyəti 8 nəfərdir.
Combat crew will consist of 8 personnel.
8K-14 raketi reaktiv, maye mühərrikli, ayrılmayan döyüş hissəli, avtonom inersiya idarəetmə və qəza partlayış sistemli balistik raketdir.
8K-14 missile is the fuel engine with the non-supervised combat parts and also qəza və partlayış sistemidir.
Qəza partlayış sistemi. Qaslı 8 F-44 çəkisi 987 kiloqram həzmli partlayıcı döyüş hissəsi ilə təchiz olunur.
It was also, in addition to that, it has 8 F-44, which weight is 987 kilos.
Həmin döyüş hissəsi 1 hektara qədər, 100 metrin 100 metrəyə ərazini, döyüş texnikasını və şəxsiyyətini məhv etməyə qadirdir.
That part has the capability to destroy enemy forces within the 1 acre.
Atış məsafəsi yaxın 50 kilometrdə şəkildə göstərilib slaydda.
The minimum launching distance is 50 kilometers.
Uzaq məsafəsi 300 kilometrdir.
Maximum distance is 300 kilometers.
Uçuş trayektoriyasının hündürlüyü uzaq məsafəyə atanda, atışın keçiriləndə 86 kilometr.
The maximum flight height is 86 kilometers.
Yaxın məsafəyə atışı keçiriləndə 24 kilometr hündürlüyü.
When it's launched on the short distance, the maximum height is 24 kilometers.
Uçuş vaxtı 165 saniyə, 313 saniyə qədərdir.
Flying time is from 165 to 313.
Şəkildə göstərilib, slaydda göstərilib, atıcı qurğu raketlə səfər vəziyyətində və atıcı qurğunun döyüş vəziyyətində.
You can see on the picture the launching system when it's on the mobilized way and also when it's in the combat readiness.
O birisi slayda keçək. Düşmənin silahlanmasında olan taktiki və operativ taktiki raketin sistemlərin çatma hədləri. Özünüz görürsünüz ki, bu xəritədə bizim Respublikanın, bizim dövlətin sərhədi Ermənistanla sərhəddir. Sərhəd yanı dövləti.
As you see, our location is on the border distance with the Armenian border.
Ayın 12-sində Mingəçevir şəhərinə Gəncə şəhərinə zərbələr endirilmişdi və bu şəkildə mən göstərmək istəyirəm ki, dünənki hadisələri hansı məsafədən, hansı yerdən və hansı məsafəyə kimi Azərbaycan Respublikasına həmin əgər o raket atılsaydısa hara çata bilərdi.
As you know, on 12th of this month, enemy has launched missiles to our cities, Mingəçevir and Gəncə cities. And here I would like to show you the starting point and the end point of the missiles.
Şəkildə görürsünüz ki, uzaq məsafəsi 300 kilometr olaraq Bakının ətrafına bu raket düşə bilər və burada böyük infrastrukturlar daxil nəsə Dağlıq Qarabağ ərazisinə keçsəydisə, deməli bunun məsafəsi də Bakını da ötə bilərdi və digər zərərləri bizə edə bilərdi.
As you see on the picture, the distance from the missile is around 300 kilometers, and Baku and vicinity of Baku, including the main. Therefore, if we haven't had the preventive measures yesterday, then it will bring to the bad end for our side.
Ermənistan tərəfindən atılan raket, .U deyilən raket, Xankəndi ətrafında olan Ballıca yaşayış məntəqəsinin yanından start mövqeyini tutaraq və oradan zərbə endirilmişdir. Bu kəşfiyyatın apardığı məlumatlara görədir.
According to our intelligence information, the .U rocket system has been launched from the Xankəndi, from the Ballıca village, which is located around.
Məntəqələrimizdə atılan sözü gedən balistik raketlərin bir neçəsi hərbi hava qüvvələrin hava hücumundan müdafiə bölmələri tərəfindən vaxtında aşkarlanaraq havada məhv edilmişdir.
Many of the missiles that have been launched to our urban areas have been destroyed on air by our air defense system.
Amma effektiv mübarizə ondan ibarətdir ki, həmin balistik raketləri onun buraxıcı qurğularının aşkarlanaraq raketlərin buraxılmadığından əvvəl yerdə məhv edilməsini nəzərə alaraq Azərbaycan ordusu balistik raketlərin buraxıcı qurğularına və onların dəstəkləyən infrastrukturuna qarşı müxtəlif növ kəşfiyyat və zərbə vasitələrindən istifadə edərək xüsusi əməliyyatlara başlamışdır.
However, the most effective way to combat the missile systems is to find and destroy them on the ground before they launch. Therefore, Azerbaijan Armed Forces have launched special operations along with the special forces and the
Kəşfiyyat və əməliyyatlar, xüsusi əməliyyatlar.
Along with the fire system and also intelligence system.
Beləliklə, balistik raketlərə qarşı xüsusi əməliyyatların nəticəsində 12 oktyabr 2020-ci il tarixdə saat 14 radələrində işğal altında olan Qubatlı rayonu ərazisində bir ədəd .U raketi məhv edilmişdir. Aşağıda şəkildə göstərilib.
As a result of this operation, on 12 October this year at 1400, one of the ballistic systems located in the Qubadlı region, .U ballistic system located in the Qubadlı region have been destroyed by our forces.
Və dünənləri ayın 14-ü, oktyabr 2020-ci il tarixdə gecə saat 1 radələrində 2 ədəd və səhər saatlarında 8:30 radələrində bir ədəd olmaqla üzrə toplanmaq üçün 3 ədəd Elbrus balistik raket qurğusunun raketlərini birlikdə ordumuzun tərəfindən aşkarlanaraq məhv edilmişdir.
In addition, on 14 October at 1 in the night, There was 2 missiles identified by our forces, and at 8:30, another 1 missile will have been identified and destroyed. That missile was Elbrus ballistic rocket launcher.
Onu da xatırlamaq istəyirəm ki, 300 kilometr atış məsafəsinə sahib Elbrus ballistik raketi kifayət qədər ön cəbhəyə gətirdiyiniz zaman Bakı şəhərinə çataraq uçuş məsafəsinə də malikdir. Qabaqcadan mən sizə demişdim və şəkildə göstərmişdim ki, əgər Dağlıq Qarabağ ərazisində o gətirilsəydi və o bilmək olmazdı hansı şəhərlərə, hansı dağıntılara gətirə bilərdi.
I would like to emphasize that if the Elbrus ballistic system have been brought to the occupied areas of our republic, then it has capacity to reach Baku vicinity.
Kəşfiyyat məlumatlarından əldə etdiyimiz məlumatlara görə biz bilirik ki, Dağlıq Qarabağda yerləşən 1-ci ümumi qoşun ordusunun tərkibində belə hərbi hissə yoxdur. Bu silah Ermənistanın 71-ci raket alayının tərkibindəndir. Stepanovan yaşayış məntəqəsində həmin hərbi hissə yerləşir.
According to our intelligence information, there is no air defense systems or units located under the command of the First Army, which is acting within the occupied areas. Therefore, our information identifies that this rocket system belongs to the 71st detachment, rocket unit detachment, which is located in the Stepanovan.
İndi də balaca bir videosuna həmin o aşkarlanmış videosu da təqdim edirəm sizə.
The movie that it showed conducted.
Görürsünüz ki, videoda 2 dənə quru gedir. Onun üstündə 2 dənə raket.
As you see on the video, there are 2 launchers moving on the way, and each has a missile.
İndi də onlar öz döyüş mövqeyini tuturlar.
Now they are getting on the starting point.
Və köməkçi maşınlar da yaxınlaşırlar və raketləri hazırlayırlar atışa.
Right now the supportive vehicles are approaching on the video. Supporting vehicles were approaching the launcher and were getting prepared for the launch.
Çox sağ olun bu ətraflı məlumatınıza görə. Müəllimə söz sizə verirəm. Yekun qeydləriniz üçün.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, excellencies. First of all, I would like to thank Mr. Hajiv and also Major General for the information provided on these early morning's attempted attacks. And I just wanted to share a couple of thoughts with you. The first thing which comes to mind is that the absence of adequate reaction to the war crime which was perpetuated in Ganja on the 11th of October exactly should be seen as the reason why this has been repeatedly attempted by the Armenian side this morning. And I think that this lack of adequate condemnation of this war crime against the peaceful civilian population in Ganja has bolstered the sense of impunity that Armenia has been enjoying for so many years, and in its turn it's just allowed for some sense of permissiveness with which Armenia continues to its military activities and to threaten the security and safety of Azerbaijani population. We cannot accept in this regard the premise of neutrality because when you are trying to be neutral in the situation of injustice, that means that you are automatically on the side of the oppressor. and that's why Azerbaijan is very regretful about this appeasing attitude towards the grave breaches of international humanitarian law, in particular the Fourth Geneva Convention of 1949, which qualifies deliberate attacks on peaceful civilian population and so-called collective punishment effort as a crime of war. These cruel and barbaric attempts by the government of Armenia to deliberately target the peaceful population in the area which is very much remote from the zone of conflict, because I have to remind you that Ganja and Mingachevir are 80 to 100 kilometers away from the combat activities zone. This once again shows that this leadership of Armenia is no much different from its predecessors, who also are known as the war criminals because of the acts and crime of genocide that they committed in 1992 in February in the Azerbaijani town of Khojaly in the occupied Nagorno-Karabakh region. And of course it is obvious today that after having suffered the humiliating military fiasco on the battlefield, Armenian leadership finds it more and more difficult to hide from its public opinion the real situation on the ground. And of course in these conditions it resorts out of proceeding from the sense of despair and hopelessness. They resort to acts of intimidation and also revenge. But I should tell you that all of you, I'm sure, those who attended the trip to Ganja and myself and Hikmat Malim, we have witnessed in Ganja how highly motivated the population of Ganja and the whole Azerbaijani people are. And there is no reason to believe that our people could be intimidated by these barbaric intentions. And so finally, I just think I need to underline that Azerbaijan, proceeding from its legitimate right for self-defense, reserves the right to undertake all the necessary measures in order to ensure security and safety of its population. And as we have seen from this video presentation, because of this preventive and preemptive action by the Azerbaijani armed forces, many human lives of Azerbaijanis have been saved. And I think that if Armenia continues its policies of refusing to stop military aggression and refusing to return at the table of negotiation, then of course Azerbaijan will have no other option than to stop this war and occupation, which is for its territorial integrities by other legitimate means. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. If you have any questions and comments, we'll be more than glad to answer. And if not, once again, thank you for coming for this briefing with a short notice, and we also feel obliged to inform diplomatic corps in Azerbaijan so that you have first-hand information from the official source of Azerbaijani government. And with early morning's Scud missile concentration, and it's in a high readiness for start attack against Azerbaijan with a potential risk. It was not just in a single case, as we are witnessing since the start of this escalation, but from the territory of Armenia, and Azerbaijan cities are becoming under the artillery and missile attack. That's not unacceptable. And today, Minister of Defense of Armenia and Foreign Minister, they made a statement. In another way, they have acknowledged the fact of the concentration of missiles and their high readiness, but they try to give it different understanding to this issue. But in the meantime, they have underlined or admitted the fact that which indeed have been deployed on the immediate Karabakh region of Azerbaijan, and they were ready for launch. As my colleagues already mentioned, as a legitimate military target, neutralizing with military object without causing any particular damage to any military or civilian infrastructure. It was a precision-guided munition and precision attack or countermeasure to this particular source of threat, but has been neutralized, and by doing that, many lives have been saved and the lives of the civilians have been protected. Once again, we renew our appreciation and thanks for coming for this briefing. Thank you. If you have any questions, if not, yes, please.
Hi, my name is I'm from Chile. And my question is, we've been witnessing all these attacks after you have come to an agreement of a humanitarian ceasefire. Has all these attacks, some have occurred, as you said, on October 14th. Have these attacks have any effect on these agreement of ceasefire, humanitarian ceasefire that was convened in Moscow?
Thank you for our colleague from Chile for your question and comment. Azerbaijan, once again, would like to reiterate that Azerbaijan remains committed to the humanitarian ceasefire arrangement based on the declaration that had been adopted in Moscow with the role of Russian Federation in bringing together Armenia and Azerbaijan and pushing forward with humanitarian ceasefire based on the Moscow Declaration. But unfortunately, what we have seen in the immediate aftermath, that Armenian side tries by all means do everything to shatter and destroy humanitarian truce that has been agreed in Moscow Declaration. That we have seen in the as an immediate step. They have taken the actions in Jabrayil and Hadrut regions that have been liberated from Armenia's occupation. They tried to regroup their forces and to capture or reoccupy with territories. That's not unacceptable. And in other Armenian troops and their attempts to attack. But as if not enough, and we have seen further escalation, particularly attacking Ganja with a Scud missile. There was absolutely no military necessity to attack Azerbaijan's second biggest city, particularly civilian population of Ganja, and also particularly densely populated part of Ganja city of Azerbaijan with such a dangerous and destructive missile like a Scud. Once again, I would like to reiterate that in the history of the OSCE, there was not a single case that such a destructive missile used against a city of a population of 500,000 people. And from our side, our assessment is that Armenia is doing it on a deliberate manner, on a purposeful manner, for certain political military objects, so that to compensate their real failure and their fiasco on the ground that they have witnessed since the escalation of the situation that have been launched with the attacks against Azerbaijani civilians. But also, today, early in the morning, we have also witnessed that Azerbaijan's Tartar city again become under the heavy artillery. Just from 7 a.m. up to the 10 a.m., more than 100 artillery pieces landed to Tartar city. 8 civilians have been wounded. One of the missiles landed to the garden of the school. And 8 civilians, including the 2 representatives of the local mayor's office who came to support the civilians, are wounded as well. 1 civilian has been killed. So from one side, Armenian side talks about a peace. From another side, continues its hypocritical. It's also a matter of confidence and trust, how we can be render any trust to confidence to Armenian side, but they're continuing the policy of in a deliberate manner, in a mass manner, to kill Azerbaijani civilians. And concentration and bringing to the high readiness status with in the launch pad of the Scud missiles, yet was another attempt to cause casualties in a massive way among Azerbaijani civilians. But from another side, once again, I'm just reiterating my country's commitment to the humanitarian truce that have been agreed. Thank you. Yes, Ambassador.
Just to follow on from that question. Point 1 of the Moscow Declaration was a ceasefire, and point 3 was negotiations. Can you start negotiations when there's no ceasefire? That's the idea, that you can actually start negotiations even though the fighting is still going on, or do you think you have to wait until the fighting is completely stopped?
Actually, history of the conflicts also shows that maybe sometimes it's difficult to have a complete ceasefire, but negotiation should continue. Simply, Azerbaijan demonstrates its readiness, and we are ready to continue our discussions and consultations and also negotiation process. There could be certain provocations that we are witnessing from Armenian side for the humanitarian ceasefire, but we are ready to continue such negotiations with Armenian side. And actually, we are engaged with such a telephone diplomacy that we can call. Our foreign minister is in contact with the co-chairs. I myself is in contact with my counterparts from Russia, Turkey, and from other regional countries, including the OSCE chairperson in office, so that to brief them about an operational situation on the ground. Yes, that's right.
Thank you. Just a quick point. I think that recently we were witnessing the position of Armenia, who openly declined participation in talks. For example, their foreign minister didn't want to go to Geneva, claiming that it's hard for them to continue or to engage in meaningful discussions while there is a military activity going on. And that is the reason why Azerbaijan, displaying its goodwill, participated first in Geneva and then in Moscow in order to arrive to this humanitarian truce. But now that the Armenia has been rendering on a daily basis a very serious, if not irreparable, damage to this agreement, it would be hard to imagine that they would agree to sit around the table and talk about the withdrawal of their troops from Azerbaijani territories. But again, I think that it is now up to the international community to exert all the necessary pressure on the occupying state for them to on the battlefield in the face of the glorious and highly motivated Azerbaijani army. So they have to forget about those lands, and it's our good gesture of goodwill for them to stop fighting and to sit down and to prove that they are credible counterparts, because up until now their behavior shows to the opposite. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I have one question concerning this idea that was put today by the Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Russian Federation to facilitate the introduction of the humanitarian ceasefire to introduce maybe a peacekeeping process. What are your stances concerning this idea?
Actually, today my president in his interview made it very clear to the Turkish TV about a potential peacekeeping issue. First, we should underline the fact that we are talking about a sovereign territory of Azerbaijan, and Azerbaijani armed forces are engaged in a peace enforcement operation within the perimeters of Azerbaijan's sovereign territories, but also recognized by the whole international community. Therefore, any engagement like in a peacekeeping and should be with the endorsement of Azerbaijan, because it's in a sovereign territory of Azerbaijan. But at this stage, maybe peacekeeping or any peace support mechanisms in the context of the peacekeeping cooperation should be premature, but there are fundamental issues first needs to be addressed. Then peacekeeping issue could also be subject of discussion in case of necessity. And everybody knows that within the Minsk group process, the roadmap of the negotiation process or roadmap conflict resolution process has been identified. And everybody also knows that what are the first step and should be implemented. Based on the success on the first step, we can implement further steps as well. But the first step starts from the occupation of the forces, the occupation of occupied territories or withdrawal of Armenian troops. Within that context, other issues could be subject of potential discussion, and of course, as a sovereign territory of Azerbaijan that we are talking about, and of course also should come with the consent of Azerbaijan side as well. But key fundamental issue for us is the end of military occupation. That's also part of the, and also demand of the United Nations Security Council resolutions, which also gives a mandate for the OSCE Minsk group for its functions. And it's also one of the key fundamental principles of the roadmap that we have discussed or agreed within the years that the negotiations took place. If there are no other questions, we are thankful for the diplomatic corps in Azerbaijan for coming for this briefing, and also for your questions and comments. Thank you.
Bəli, hörmətli tamaşaçılar, biz Hərbi informasiya mərkəzində diplomatik